Last time on Dragon Ball New Age. With the backing of Kibito Kai, our heroes get permission to use the Black Dragon Balls once more to revive all those lost in the fight against Rigor. This includes Goten and Uub. For the next month, they'll be training with King Kai, who has also been training Krillin, who has developed a new technique equal to a Super Saiyan power-up. If a mere human could attain such an ability, just imagine what a partial Saiyan or Majin can do. And so, a month passes. Just as wounds heal, the people of West City begin the process of rebuilding. And as the Black Dragon Balls finish their recharging cycle, our heroes continue training. Day in and day out, in the forests of Mount Paozu, Goku and Gohan push each other's limits. They both feel their ceilings breaking. They visualize themselves at their best and move forward to new levels of strength. Meanwhile, at Capsule Corp, Vegeta intensifies his training. Not wishing to be left behind, Trunks trains under the strict and brutal tutelage of his father. Even in the afterlife, Uub and son Goten aren't slouching in their training either. However, high above the earth in the palace of Kami, things aren't going quite as well, as Piccolo finds his own training strangely lacking in comparison to his allies. He shouts, "This isn't working! No matter how hard he tries, the others make 5 strides for every one he makes." He realizes his own ways, his own training, has reached its limit. Dende suggests he simply try a new method, but the warrior believes he needs more than that. New styles, new techniques, an entire reinvigoration of himself. The Guardian grows a subtle smile. Having an idea, he signals for Piccolo to follow him inside. He thinks he acquired something during his trip back home that might be of use. Telling him to wait here, Dende ventures forth, grabbing something concealed by a cloth. Before handing it over, Piccolo questions, "A book?" But Earth's god chuckles he should know better than that. This is no ordinary book. Surely he recognizes the Book of NAMEK, revealing an ancient appearing tome adorned with Namekian symbols. But he does recognize it, asking how. It was almost definitely destroyed along with the original NAMEK. And it was. But during Dende's visit to Elder Mori, he told a fascinating tale, one he had never heard previously. A long time ago, before the disaster that devastated their world, there existed beings called the Sages of NAMEK. These sages were wise and powerful entities, warriors taken from each of their tribes. It was they who created the Namekians' ancient ways of combat and protected the Dragon Balls. But when the cataclysm began, they died out trying to stop it. Piccolo actually remembers the Grand Elder once telling him a story like this, or rather to nail. When a trained warrior Namekian was decreed worthy, he was permitted to take on the training to become a sage. As such, he would gain access to powerful magic and knowledge. The teachings of the sages would be bound and inscribed within a mythical grimoire that would become known as the Book of NAMEK. It was through this book the Namekian gained the will of the sages in order to keep the sacred teachings from dying. The Grand Elder, the last living sage, passed down the knowledge of the sage teachings to each other elder. Since their arrival on New NAMEK, the elders have been attempting to recreate this book. This is the fruit of their labor. Elder Mori's tale inspired Dende, so we asked him to consider Piccolo. Though he was a bit hesitant given his history, he decided to give Dende the decree to allow Piccolo to become the next Sage NAMEK. While he appreciates the Guardian's confidence, the warrior fears they haven't the time. But if what Mori told Dende is true, time is no issue. In fact, he can do his training right here. Considering the small size of the room, Piccolo is less than optimistic. Urging the fighter to trust him, he assures this room is more than enough. Agreeing, Piccolo questions what he must do, which is simple. All he needs to do is open the book. Flipping the cover, he discovers the pages are blank.
What is?
A light shines from within and absorbs them before clapping shut. With smoke still floating in the air, Dende wishes his friend luck. Back on the ground below, far away, a couple of voices rumble from the interior of a parked car. A woman tries to assure her, presumably boyfriend, that she does love him, but her father would never approve. The man tells her not to worry because they're gonna run away together tonight, just the two of them. Which, despite how bad of an idea that probably is, she can't get over her delusions of how romantic that sounds. It'll be just like a movie. At that moment, the couple spot a shooting star, prompting the gentleman to suggest they make a wish. When she notices something strange, the star, it's changed direction. Focusing their eyes, they can see it appears to be heading towards him. She screams for him to look out, but there's nothing they can do to move the car in time. Unfortunately, both of them are lost. A mysterious figure arises from the rubble. Strolling over to the cliff overlooking the city, he takes a gaze before commenting, "Ah, there we are, a veritable banquet." At that very moment, on the distant planet of Bebet, a siren echoes through a control room as a monitor officer shouts, "Incoming vessels, round attack type." The man staring out the window, presumably the one in charge, is bewildered by this, finding it strange such ship types would be all the way out here. He asks if it's one of their own, and they appear to be so. They're sending in landing signals as they speak. The officer then begins scanning the pods, causing them to gasp out in shock. These signals. Rushing to an intercom, he bellows to the landing deck to give their full attention. Lord Rigor and Mistress Saparia are arriving, instructing they receive him at once. Quickly making their way outside. Rigor has regained consciousness, but only grunts his brother's name in fury. Now in a healing chamber, Saparia inquires of a nearby doctor, who she calls Kikara, how bad the damage is and if he'll be alright. With a sigh, he states to be frank, if not for hypersleep, he may not have even survived the trip back here. He's broken, to some degree, nearly every bone in his body, and his muscular trauma and internal injuries have been compounded by the strain of his transformation. This kind of damage would be lethal to anyone else. Disregarding the big if lingering in the air, Sapari questions how long it'll take for him to recover. But it's hard to say. But Lord Rigor has always been a tough one. Factoring in his constitution and the best treatment, it could be a month, maybe 2 before he's fully healed. With a short pause, she eventually thanks him for his service, requesting she be notified should his condition change. Uttering a formal, "Indeed, mistress," the doctor is left to his patient. Sombering down a hallway, she figures it could have been worse than a couple months, though she still can't believe he was defeated at all. Whatever the case, at least he has amazing recovery power, and like all Saiyans, once he's healed, his strength will be beyond imagination. She then asks a soldier nearby where someone named Maceron is. She needs to speak with him, who points her in his direction, informing he and Savina have been in the mountains for the last 3 days, referring to the formal with the title Lord. He adds Roko and Kodo are also around here somewhere, and Lord Basuko. Cutting to elsewhere, a voice calls out to the warrior training. With a laugh, they playfully sneer he won't just quit until he's stronger than him, will he? Naming him as Basuko, before checking to see how heavy those body weights are, around a moaio each, which translates to 2 tons apiece. But actually, he's training with 2 moaio for each weight, questioning if there's any reason in particular the 2 of them have come pestering him. Revealing 2 children, possibly twins, Kodo on the left and Roko on the right. They mock how Basuko is always so touchy, and they've just come to let him know that their mother and father are back. This stops the fighter dead in his tracks, another dead ringer for being family of Vegeta. In the wilderness, a young woman narrows her eyes to sneak up on someone, thinking, "There you are, this time you're mine," as we spot a man sitting on the ground meditating. Creeping up, he smiles. "You're too loud, Savina." Deterred, she shouts out, "Oh, come on! I still can't sneak up on you, Maceron!" He assures his sister she'll get it soon. She rolls her eyes spouting, "Whatever you say," before asking why all the stealth training anyway. Maceron informs it's not about stealth, it's about being light on one's feet, about silencing oneself, promising it'll become clear with time. They begin to trek away from their current location. Savina admits she didn't think training with him would be so different than training with their dad or Basuko. The Mystics sure taught him a lot of stuff, which they did, and their father has always been solitary. So their mother sent him to train with the Mystics when he was really young. It was through them that he learned there is more to a warrior than strength alone. They would say, to empower the body and not the mind is to build a temple on shifting sand. Which brings his sister to question, why her? Wouldn't one of their brothers have been a better disciple? He explains that they're battle-obsessed and only think about power, but in his own discipline, the 2 of them let go of the idea of power through external means being all there is. It's by losing that he and Savina gain. She has always been different from her brothers. She knows how to restrain herself and look within, and that is the key to unlocking one's potential. She inquires what that even means, like lose to gain? But it's true. True power will come from letting go. When she does that, her potential is limitless. He sees it within her, but does she see it within herself? Repeating this question, the pair are interrupted by a ship overhead, or rather what they call combat, but they wonder why it would be all the way out here. It informs the two of them it's actually Kikara in the medbay. Their presence is requested, and to their shock, the machine reveals it regards their father. Back with Rigor, Masaran questions the doctor if he could tell him anything about what happened to their father. Like, where did he and their mother go, and who did this to him? He tells how Mr. Sapari was rather vague with the details, but it involved a North Quadrant planet called Earth and 2 Saiyans, his brother Vegeta, and one by the name of Kakarot. Understanding his lack of information, he then requests to know where his mother is. With a family of Rigor revealed, and quite numerous at that, how will they react to their invincible father being defeated by our heroes? And who is the mysterious invader who has just landed on Earth?